In the Arctic regions of our planet, the ice and permafrost, thought to be unable to be thawed, has now started to do the unthinkable. The melting of the ice and permafrost on Earth is only the start of the effects of global warming. These events will start a giant, unstoppable chain reaction. Jack, a young boy, was living in ignorance of the dangers of global warming until one day he learned just how much an issue Arctic melting really is. Where am I?
It's a pleasure to see you, Jack.
Who are you? What do you want?
I'm Agent CO2. I'm surprised you don't recognize me. You and your stupid human race has given me the power to destroy the world.
How do you do that?
You'll find out soon enough. Ha ha ha! Jack, I'm Permafrost Man, and you've fallen into my trap.
What's permafrost? What trap?
Permafrost is frozen ground that restricts water drainage, and therefore strongly influences landscape water balance and the design and maintenance of infrastructure, as well as contains massive amounts of methane. Permafrost near the Alaskan coast has warmed 4 degrees Fahrenheit to 5 degrees Fahrenheit at 65-foot depth since the late 1970s, and 6 degrees Fahrenheit and 8 degrees Fahrenheit at 3.3-foot depth since the mid-1980s. In Alaska, 80% of land is underlain by permafrost, and of this, more than 70% of it is vulnerable to subsidence upon thawing because of ice content that is either variable, moderate, or high. Thaw is already occurring in interior and southern Alaska and in northern Canada, where permafrost temperatures are near the thaw point. Models project that permafrost in Alaska will continue to thaw, and some models project that near-surface permafrost will be lost entirely from large parts of Alaska by the end of the century. As you can see, I am thawing, enabling me to unleash my true power!
How are you thawing?
Thawing has been most notable at the southern margins. Across huge areas, including much of central Alaska, permafrost is hovering just below the freezing point. It is expected to start thawing in earnest as soon as the 2020s. In northern Alaska and northern Siberia, where permafrost is at least 12 degrees Fahrenheit below freezing, experts say it should take longer. As to how I'm melting, massive amounts of greenhouse gases, such as CO2 and methane, have built up in our atmosphere, creating a greenhouse effect that is heating up our planet. The greenhouse effect happens when the greenhouse gases that absorb infrared rays, are in the atmosphere. These gases then radiate the heat they have just absorbed, therefore heating the surface of the Earth. Permafrost is never meant to melt, but now that I will heat up our Earth even more. And beneath this permafrost is a powerful molecule called methane.
What's methane?
Methane is a molecule that is nearly 20 times more powerful than CO2. Methane is formed from dead plants and animals that have been compacted and frozen beneath the ice. It is found in many places, including methane hydrate, which is a source found underneath the sea. Permafrost contain enough methane and carbon to double the amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere, meaning that once all my permafrost thaws, global warming will go through the roof.
What? No!
I was never meant to melt, but you and your human race were so oblivious to Agent CO2 and I that you will now pay the price. I can feel myself thawing. It's about to happen!
Oh no! Oh.
Ugh. Where do you think you're going?
Ow, that hurt. Hey, what are you doing?
You are about to witness the power of ice albedo.
Ice albedo, what's that?
Albedo is a term used to define the reflectivity of an object. A perfectly reflective surface would have an albedo score of 1, while an object that is completely dark would absorb all of the electromagnetic radiation and have an albedo score of 0.
It's getting really, really hot in here.
Well, I'll tell you why. It's the ice albedo effect. My cycle begins in the late spring, when the Arctic is getting warmer than it usually is. During the winter, the sun is not strong enough to melt the reflective white ice that surrounds the Arctic. But during the summer, it is just hot enough to melt the ice caps. But the main portion of my cycle comes from the ocean. The dark ocean absorbs all of this heat, and as the summer progresses, it gets hotter. As the ocean heats, the ice surrounding it melts, creating more and more water. In regions where the climate has warmed, the physical impacts on aquatic ecosystems include the loss of ice and perennial snow cover, increasing periods of seasonal open water, increased water column temperatures, and changes in the water column stratification. The more water, the more heat, the more melting. It's an exponential chain reaction. With all this excess water, the sea levels are rising, and now I can summon a tsunami.
But we're inside.
So, you do whatever I want, Jack. I'm awesome. Potential impacts of this rise in Arctic temperatures are expected to range from more immediate catastrophic events such as loss of large ice masses causing drainage of fresh water to more gradual effects such as changes in the amount of annual ice and snow cover, faster glacial melting, declining amounts of snow and rain, and the thawing of permafrost. According to the IPCC report, the Arctic Ocean is expected to be ice-free by this summer, Jack.
So you're all connected in some way. You, permafrost, and Agent CO2. Whoa. Need to learn more about global warming. Is it really that much of a problem?
Hey, it looks like Dr. Schaefer got back to me. Oh no, it appears that there is no way to place carbon emitted from melting permafrost back into the frozen ice other than to reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases. Wow, 1,400 gigatons of carbon? That is equivalent to 1.4 quadrillion kilograms. As I said in my dream, all of the causes of global warming are intricately linked together, explaining why Agent CO2 called it a chain reaction. Starting with our emission of greenhouse gases through activities like the burning of fossil fuels, permafrost is melting and releases additional greenhouse gases which retain the sun's heat, warming our planet, thus helping warm our oceans, which greatly enhances the albedo effect. The albedo effect causes the melting of near-ocean ice caps, which greatly raise the sea level. The more gases we create, the worse our planet's situation gets. We better stop this soon, before the many faces of CO2 completely take over.